Yes, okay. Okay.
At least we can hear the pure devotee.
The saintly persons and sages
Yeah, all good.
churned the thighs of the dead body of King Vena with great force
Okay.
and according to a specific method. As a result of this churning, a dwarf-like person was born from King Vena's body. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. That a person was born by the churning of the thighs of King Vena proves that the spirit soul is individual and separate from the body. The great sages and saintly persons could beget another person from the body of the dead King Vena, but it was not possible for them to bring King Vena back to life. King Vena was gone, and certainly he had taken another body. The saintly persons and sages were only concerned with the body of King Vena because it was a result of the seminal succession in the family of Maharaj Dhruva. Consequently, the ingredients by which another body could be produced were there in the body of King Vena. By a certain process, when the thighs of the dead body returned, another body came out. Although dead, the body of King Vena was preserved by drugs and mantras chanted by King Vena's mother. In this way, the ingredients for the production of another body were there. When the body of the person named Bahuka came out of the dead body of King Vena, it was not really very astonishing. It was simply a question of knowing how to do it. From the semen of one body, another body is produced, and the life symptoms are visible due to the souls taking shelter of this body. One should not think that it was impossible for another body to come out of the dead body of Maharaj Vena. This was performed by the skillful action of the sages. Vinishchachaya vimrishayo vipanasya mahipate mamantur urum tarasa tatrasid bahuko nara. After making a decision, the saintly persons and sages churned the thighs of the dead body of King Vena with great force and according to a specific method. As a result of this churning, a dwarf-like person was born from King Vena's body. Om Agyana Timarandasya Gyananjana Chalakaya Chaksurun Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Sayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swaparantikam Aradhanastranandan Tairadam Yache Puna Puna Srimad Rupa Padambujo Dulisyam Janma Janmani Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Panchakalpatrubhyascha Kripasindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo. So, after King Anga died, then King Vena was established on the throne, although all the ministers were against this. And it came to pass that King Vena was a great demon. And he was blaspheming the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He forbid the Brahmins from performing sacrifices. Such a great demon. And so then all the rogues and thieves were very happy that such a demoniac king was there. So the sages, although their business is not killing, because Brahmins are generally engaged in performing sacrifices and instructing people about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And they're engaged in the welfare of the people, and they're very harmless beings. Therefore, it is a great sin to kill a Brahmin, because every ounce of energy is meant for the welfare of the people. So when they saw that irreligion was becoming very powerful, and they realized that they themselves had installed this guy on the throne, so they realized it was their duty to get rid of him. So without violence, simply by chanting some mantras, they managed to kill King Vena. But still, King Vena, he was coming in the line of Dhruva Maharaj. So they wanted to preserve that seminal succession somehow or another. So from his thighs, they churned according to some special method that's lost nowadays. They created a dwarf named Bahuka. And he was the sum total of all the sinful activities of King Vena. And here he was described as very blackish. And Prabhupada describes that generally the Brahmins are very fair complexion, and the Sudras are very blackish. He was so black it described he's just like a crow. So, and the other two castes are some mixture in between. And then from the arms of the dead body of King Vena, they created Prithu Maharaj and his wife, what was her name? Atri, yes, Atri. Somehow says COVID, my brain forgets things easily. And King Prithu was very, very pious king. And he immediately began, because after what they saw, that after King Vena was killed, then all the rogues and thieves, there's no proper government, just like nowadays we see all over the world, that all the criminal elements are becoming very strong. Because there's no proper government to set them right, keep them in control. So the people are suffering all over the world. So they wanted to produce a wonderful king, so they produced King Prithu. We'll see in the coming chapters, he instructs everybody that there is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and you have to worship him. Not like nowadays, they preach that there's no such thing as God. God is a useless thing. And in the name of so-called secular government, they more or less decry the worship of God. But actually, Prabhupada says secular means that you may let anyone practice whatever religion they want. But real religion means to worship God, and the result of actual religion is to love God. So if any religion is producing love of God, then we should preserve that. And the people, if they become godless, then they'll become, we see all over the world, is completely, for the devotees of the Lord, is unbearable situation. Everything is completely upside down. So secular doesn't mean godless, it means that you let people practice any bona fide religion. So the sages were very concerned about this because King Vena was such a horrible person. He was prohibiting the Brahmins from performing sacrifice and Nam Sankirtan. In connection with Dhruva Maharaj, we also have one forest in Vrindavan called Madhuvan. Anybody been to Madhuvan? So this forest is even famous in Satyuga, in all the four yugas. In Satyuga, Dhruva Maharaj came there, performed his great penances and austerities, and within 5 months he was able to realize. He was so determined. We can see our determination not so great. We've been practicing Krishna consciousness for 50 years, still we haven't seen the lotus feet of Krishna. And we're still trying very hard. But Dhruva Maharaj, he was so determined that within 5 months, he was able to see the Supreme Personality Godhead face to face. Then in Treta Yuga, there was one Daitya named Madhu. And even though he was a Daitya, he was a very pious Daitya. And some people say that because of his name was Madhu, that forest became known as Madhuvan. But it's even mentioned in Satyuga before King Madhu. Because very clearly in Bhagavatam, Narad Muni tells Dhruva Maharaj, Madhuvanam, you go to that Madhuvan. So anyway, some people say that because of Madhu, it became Madhuvan. And this is a pastime from Treta Yuga. I don't know if you've ever wondered that. I always wondered, because we can understand the Dwa very easily. We're in the previous yuga was Dwapar Yuga. We can understand Dwa means two. If you lived in India, you've heard the language and you can understand Dwa means two. But it's the third place. It's the third place. And Treta Yuga, you can understand Treta, 3. That's coming second. What happened was in the beginning of the universe, Brahma, he created 7 sons just from his mind. And he gave each of them some duty. So he made Vasisthrishi the Purohit. The Purohit means the family priest. Whenever there's Vivaha Sanskar, Vivaha means wedding. I'm not a Sanskrit scholar, but there seems to be a connection between Vivaha and Vivad. Vivad means argument. But somehow after Vivaha comes Vivad. So I'm not a Sanskrit scholar. I don't know if there's a connection, but anyway. And there's so many different sanskaras that Purohits perform, and Annaprashan and Vidyaram, Griha Pravesh. So always there's some argument about the dakshina. They're never satisfied with whatever the dakshina is. There's always some argument there, and they have to take some bit of the karma of the person they're doing the thing for, the sanskar for. So after a while, this Rishi realized it's not such a nice job. I was arguing about money and taking some simple reaction. So he went to his father. He said, Pita Sri, this is not such a nice duty. Can't you give me some other duty? And Lord Brahma said, look, there's nobody else to do this. If you do this duty, then I promise you that in Treta Yuga, you will be the Purohit for the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ram. We know Vasisthrishi was the Purohit of Lord Ram. So Vasisthrishi said, all right, Pita Sri, I accept. But one thing, now it's Satyuga, next will come Dwapar Yuga, next will come Treta Yuga. That's a long time, Pita Sri. So Brahmaji could understand what his meaning. He was very clever. But he was very pleased that he had agreed. He was obedient. The father is always very satisfied when the son is obedient. Nowadays, they don't care for the parents at all. They can't. I look at these iPhones and things, I get completely bewildered, my assistant, just do it like that. I do that again. I didn't see that. I said, no, just do it slow. So they think parents are useless. They don't know anything. But previously they were very obedient to father and mother. So because he was very obedient, he said, all right, this time I will switch the yugas around. Treta Yuga will come before Dwapar Yuga. And then you will get free very quickly from this duty. So, anyway, this pastime took place in Treta Yuga. And Madhu, although he was a Daitya, he always worshipped all the Devi Devatas, and he worshipped the Brahmins and gave them charity. And he worshipped especially Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva was so pleased with his worship that he actually appeared before Madhu. And he said, I'm very pleased by your worship. And he immediately made a digital copy of his Trishul. We should say photocopy, but now things have advanced. So. He said, as long as you have this Trishul in your hand, nobody can defeat you in any way. So then Madhu prayed that may this always remain in our family. But Lord Shiva did not say, tatastu, so be it. He said, it will not be. Although you will live very peacefully with this Trishul, you will have a son who will be very evil, and he will misuse this Trishul against the demigods, and therefore it will eventually return to me. But as long as you have it, you can live here in Madhuvan very peacefully. So this is a pastime that not many people know. This is Dwapar Yuga, and this is Treta Yuga. This is actually Lord Ram's pastime, but it's still in Braj. This is part of Braj Leela. So it came to pass that Madhu had a son. His name was Lavanasur. If you know Bengali, Lavan means salt. Just like when you're in Vrindavan, they come down the line when they're serving prasad, namak, 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 we say namak for salt. But you go to Mayapur, then they're coming down the line, loban, 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 loban. So some type of salty asura was there, a namkeen asura. And he was so cruel and evil that just like little boys, they like to play army and battle. He would actually kill his playmates and cut off their heads. And he did so many demoniac things. So, this poor Madhu, he became completely frustrated. Because the parents, they only live for the children. You're hearing? If the children become bad, then the parents' life is finished. So he had no more desire to rule the kingdom. He gave the kingdom over to his son, and he went off to another forest to perform penance with austerity. So then Lavanasur became the king. He was just like King Vena. He prohibited all types of religious duties. He prohibited the Brahmins from performing sacrifices. He said, no Nam Sankirtan, and no worship of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because in this kingdom, or koi Bhagavan ne, there's no other Bhagavan except Lavanasur. Bhagavan Lavanasur ki. Well, nobody said Jai, so usually we catch that there's some demons disguised as devotees here. So he would persecute the sages, passing stool and urine on their sacrifices and killing them, so many things. So finally, the sages became frustrated, and headed by Chavana Rishi, they all decided to go to Ayodhya because they had heard that Lord Ram had come back from his 14 years of Banvas. So they traveled there to Ayodhya. And when the doorman saw that Chavana Rishi and some rishis had come, he immediately informed Lord Ram, and Lord Ram, the king, personally came to the door to receive them. And he said, whatever is your desire, I will give it. And this Chavana Rishi said, you haven't even heard what we want. Other kings, after hearing our plea, don't even want to hear it in dream. So Lord Ram said, all right, come inside, we'll talk about it. So he explained that in Madhuban there was a great demon named Lavanasur. And he was so powerful because of this Trishul. He said one time there was one Manduka Maharaj. He conquered all the kings, almost all the kings of the earth. Then he went to heaven, to Svarga, to Indraloka, and he decided to fight with Indra and then take over Indraloka and have fun. Now we always read about the demons and the demigods fighting, but it's always a demigod, it's always the demons rather, who look for the fight. The demigods are just having a good time enjoying. They don't want to look for a fight. But somehow demonic nature is if somebody's having a good time, you want to bother them. So Indra thought, oh no, this guy's come here to disturb our enjoyment. Then bing, he got idea. You have conquered almost all the kings of the earth, but in Madhuban, there's one Lavanasur. You conquer him, and then we'll come back and fight. So Lavanasur became very happy. All right, I'll kill this king, and then I'll come back, and then I'll enjoy with in heaven and kick out this Indra. And Indra thought, all right, this guy is finished. So Indra became happy, the Sura became happy. So Manduka Maharaj attacked Madhuvan. Madhu came out of his, Lavanasura came out of his cave. When you go to Madhuvan, there's a place just near Dhruv Tila where Dhruva Maharaj performed his penances called Lavanasura Gufa, Lavanasura's cave. And Manduka Maharaj challenged him to a fight. And so Lavanasura said, just all right. He said, but where's your army? And Lavanasura began to laugh. I don't need any army. You're going to be my breakfast today.